It's Opex again. Like I said, I'm going to make a video probably every single day that I have an opportunity to. I'm going to be busy this next week or so, taking care of a lot of stuff. But anyways, I am going to provide more content. And what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about entitlement. Now, people think you're entitled to certain things, certain rights, health insurance, you're entitled to free things or whatever. I just got to admit that what you believe is entitlement, that you're entitled to, is all horseshit. There is no entitlement. There is no rights. I've said this before, that there are no such thing as rights. There's no way that you can empirically prove that you have these things. They don't exist. There is no such thing as rights. The reason why that's important to understand is because you are granted privileges from the government. The Bill of Rights does not ensure that you had these rights. It's to give you privileges. They wouldn't tell you what you can have and what you can't have if those were something that naturally born you're supposed to have. They entitled you to these privileges. Now, you are entitled to privileges under the law. What is right and wrong, or what's moral or just or ethical, has no bearing over this. It is literally what they have instilled in you to believe what you're entitled to, which are privileges that they have allowed you to do, have, or achieve. You don't own the product of your labor. You don't own your house. You are not entitled to a house. You are not entitled to free health insurance. You're not entitled to anything. There are things that you should be entitled to. And as an anarchist, I will tell you what you should be entitled to. Not what you are entitled to, but what you should be in a decent, peaceful society. And that would be along the lines of the product of your labor. That should be something you should be entitled to. If I create something, let's say I have a garden in the backyard. I have peppers, tomatoes, all different types of things, onions, garlic, and stuff like that. And my decision is to make a bunch of, let's say, sauces. And I have all the requirements. Let's say I have a backyard, a garden. All year long, I've grown this garden. Now I want to bottle all this stuff and sell it. I should be entitled to that. I worked for it. That was all my labor. I should, in a decent society, get 100% of my labor. And I should own this stuff. I should be entitled to this. The government hasn't done this for me. I did it. No person should be entitled to this other than me in a decent, great society. Self-ownership. But the problem is, I'm not entitled to that. In fact, all that land back there is owned by the banks. It's not owned by me. It's not owned by whoever's name is on that deed. You are just a tenant of the property. You are looking after a property. The product of your labor would be taxed. Say 50%. You got to buy the seeds, let's say, to grow this stuff. That's taxed. So you go back there, you plant it. That's all your labor. Can't tax that if you're not on the books for any reason. But when I harvest it, I bottle all this stuff and I go to sell it, that's taxed. And I need specific privileges in order to sell it, or else it would be illegal. I have to comply to all the laws, and I'm still not entitled to 100% of the profit, or anything, really. I'm not entitled to anything. It's pretty sad. So what's the conclusion to this? If I have to go through all these loops, pay all the sorts of money, just for me to work for myself and sell things on my own, create something, create a product and sell it. If I have to go through all these loops, taxes, regulations, etc., probably need specific permits to go through all this stuff, and I still don't own all my stuff, I still got to pay taxes and everything else, and I got to go through all these loops to make this happen. What would this make the situation? If I don't own it, and somebody else owns it through the state and banks, what would that make me? That would make me the hamster spinning the wheel, right? I don't own the stuff. I can reap some benefits from the privileges they've allowed me to do through me going through all these loops, abide by town standards, city, state, even country, federal laws, regulations, etc. Get all the permits that I need, sell it where I want to sell it, which would generally mean that I got to pay taxes on that, and all the things I got to go through. That makes me a slave, right? If I'm not entitled to this stuff, to the product of my own labor, that means I'm a slave. I'm working for someone else. And it can't get any more simple than me growing something, creating a product out of what I've grown, and trying to sell it to someone else. Who decided that they were going to start stealing our stuff, the product of our labor? Well, I don't know the exact date. I'm going to go with 1913. I might be wrong. I might be right. But before 1913, let's say, there was no such thing as income taxes. You owned the product of your labor. If I had tomatoes out there, and on my property I grew tomatoes, and I wanted to create a tomato sauce out of it, well, the government didn't intervene. The banks didn't intervene. No one intervened, and I was able to sell it freely. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Oh, sorry, guys. It started to rain and the dog ran away on me, so where did I leave off? All right, so if I'm not owning the product of my labor and somebody else is reaping benefits out of it and I'm getting specific privileges, what exactly am I entitled to? But privileges. Privileges that don't seem very good or beneficial to me because they're stealing my stuff. Now, if you think about it, we live in a decent society, right? But it's becoming more socialist and government-oriented and more government and bank control than ever before. It's getting worse and worse. Now, again, I'm an anarchist, so my belief structure is I should get 100% of my benefits in terms of a product of my labor, etc. Nobody coming in to steal my stuff, steal my money, steal anything from me. I own my own stuff, the product of my labor, etc. And nobody should take it away from me. And when I have my property and I get 100% of my income to me, I decide where I want to spend it. So government decides for you in today's society. We have somebody that decides not to work. We need to get roads paved, etc., right? Work on our bridges. But that's not everything that our money goes to. And we don't decide this as people. It doesn't matter who we elect. This is going to happen regardless. I don't want my money to go to the military-industrial complex. I don't think invading countries is a good thing. But my money goes to it anyways. If I had a product of 100% of my income, my labor, given to me, because I deserve it and I'm the one who earned it, well, I can decide. Do I want to give the military-industrial complex $20 this week? No? Well, then I don't fund it. If the roads in my neighborhood are shitty, maybe I want to give $20 a week to fix the roads out of my paycheck. And I'm sure other people in your community would do the same. Not everyone, but some people will. Therefore, a product of how much you are spending to the roads depends on how well your roads are going to be. If you live in a community where no one wants to pay for the roads, well, then you're going to get shitty roads. And if everyone's okay with that, everyone's okay with that. But then there would be people saying, well, we should fix the roads. So you would have a community gathering and say, hey, let's fix these roads. Let's all come together and work on it as a community. And people would pay for that or not. But it would be a community standard. Now, the problem we have now is that everyone's spending money on things that, okay, you can be living in a community where all your roads are paved. Everything's golden. Everyone paid for their own share. And you're still giving money every week to something that's not even being done or approved by you. For example, like the military-industrial complex. Not everyone wants to give them your hard-earned money. Therefore, they don't deserve to steal it, right? Doesn't make sense. So what I'm trying to get at is that you are literally entitled to nothing but privileges. Privileges that has been given to you. Something that was decided by the elites. The people in charge, the rulers. The rulers decided what privileges you can have. You're not entitled to anything. Nothing. Not the product of your labor, which should be the most important thing. You should be able to get 100% of your paycheck and decide to do with it as you please. If you're poor and you can't afford to fix the roads, well, you probably can't afford to have a car or anything else because you're poor. So it wouldn't bother you that you couldn't afford to help out with the roads here and there because you're not using it. If you're not using the roads, why do you have to spend money on it if you don't want to? And if you are using the roads and you're spending money on it and you're forced to spend money on it, well, it's kind of shitty because maybe you don't have enough money to afford paying for the roads or the military-industrial complex or foreign wars or to bail out bankers or whatever your money's used for to make sure that a politician gets another yacht this year and another summer house. You know, where your money's going is pretty sad because it's taken from you. It's stolen from you. And this wealth is created to make the government more powerful, richer, more in control of your life, and too powerful for you to stand up against them. This is what the quote-unquote forefathers, which I hate saying that word because it doesn't resonate in a good, positive light for me, but our forefathers didn't want, quote-unquote, didn't want the government to get so big. And because of that, we have put more power to the people, and time after time, they started taxing us, started regulating things, more and more laws, convincing the people that, you can't come up with decisions on your own. We're going to make them for you and steal your shit. And people just, okay, let's do it. Yep, let's do it. Just agreeing with it, not fighting back, just getting worse and worse. Now, do we live in a decent country? I think so, in comparison to others, to a lot of other countries. But the only thing that's keeping us from getting worse and worse is you. What are you doing to stop this? Don't you want to be able to do with your money as you please? To make your own money without it being stolen? Without all these regulations? If I wanted to create some sauce in my backyard, I got to pay all types of permits, taxes, fees. I'd probably need a loan. All this stuff just to, put $40 worth of seed in the ground and labor all summer long. And then bottle all this stuff up at the end of the year. And I can't even do that. Kids can't have a lemonade stand outside without being taxed or shut down at least. So it's pretty sad what's going on today. And I just wanted to show you guys that no matter how entitled you think you are, you're not. You're giving specific privileges, and those are regulated. Those, the product of your labor, your income, everything is being controlled for you. It's not that they don't trust you being able to make your own decisions. It's that they want control over your life. And I want you guys to think about this, is that you're not really entitled to anything. Nothing. You are given a life and it's provided for you. How you make out with your life is dependent upon you through the lines of the matrix. You can't go outside the matrix or else you're going to jail. And if you decide not to go to jail and you want to fight, you can end up dying. You're going to either end up in a box, well, either way a box. One would be a cell and the other one would be a coffin. You have that choice if you want to disobey. It's pretty sad. So how can anyone say that they're entitled to something? Entitled to free speech? Entitled to anything? You're not entitled to anything. No one owes you anything. The only problem here is that most people think that they're entitled to something. but they're not. They're controlled. And that's pretty much the bottom line of this video. Just kind of get you guys to understand that you don't own anything. You don't own your property. You don't own anything. If you guys have any questions, ask. And if you guys have any concerns, ask or tell me. But that's pretty much all for this video. And I can elaborate on this if you want me to go in more detail, because I kind of just hit the 101 on this without getting into any type of detail on this. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, stay tuned for tomorrow's video.